Yo, welcome back to G Podcast. I'm your host, German Torres, and on this episode, I sat down to talk filmmaking with cinematographer Parker Foster. We talked about his career in filmmaking, how he got his start, moving from Dallas to Chicago, dropping out of film school to pursue his career as a full time music video cinematographer, making his next move to LA, and his recent visit to Dallas to work on a short film. I think any young or aspiring filmmakers will get a lot out of this one, especially because despite coming from different backgrounds and taking different paths in our filmmaking journey with or without film school, both Parker and I continue moving forward with our careers successfully. I think anyone who's ever questioned whether or not they should go to film school or study film through some sort of higher education will really truly get a lot out of this one because I completed film school and stayed pretty much in the same city state from which I graduated from and have continued to see some success in my career as I continue moving forward. And Parker, he moved out of state to go to college to study at a film school and ended up dropping out because he was more focused on his film career outside of school and has successfully made the move out to LA and continue to prosper in his endeavors with cinematography and filmmaking. So therefore, these are two cases, and it was nice to have this conversation with them in which we both took different routes, but despite that, we still continue to move forward with our careers, and it just goes to show that there's not just one route or one path into doing whatever it is you want to do. Everyone has a different circumstance, and everyone's going to get it in different ways, but the thing that stays consistent is usually the work ethic and those characteristics that really make people resilient and that really decide who's going to continue moving forward and who's not. And with all that said, you'll hear more about this in our talk, and I truly hope you guys get something out of this. I specifically hit you up 24 hours ago,
Yeah,
pretty much.
probably less than that.
And I was like, yo, dude, on your Instagram, like, you still in Denton? Like, hop on this podcast. And so thank you for being here. And I pretty much just wanted to talk to you in general about filmmaking and what you're up to and just kind of get, an idea of who you are and how you got started in filmmaking, man. So, yeah, how did you get your start in filmmaking?
We'll take it back all the way to middle school, I guess. I started out skateboarding, and this was around like 2011, 2012. And I got really infatuated with the website Tumblr. So I would follow all these different skate accounts, photography accounts on Tumblr. And I got really into that, found Vimeo at the same time, and just really kind of dove into filmmaking after that. Like, both of those just kind of sparked an interest. So when I was 16, I asked my parents for a T2i, and I got that for my 16th birthday, and just kind of went from there. I was probably like the worst skateboarder of all my friends, and so that kind of encouraged me also to go into photography as well, so I could hang out with my friends and skate because they were always doing way better than me. So that sparked an interest in photography, filmmaking, to pick up a camera and start doing skateboarding. Soon after that, we'd be making like these skate videos and like skate montages and putting them on
Dude,
YouTube.
that's my life. That's how I got
Yeah,
started. Yeah,
I think a lot of people got started in action sports, which is funny. And pretty much it kind of blossomed after that. What happened was that we'd do these skate montages, and pretty much I would say maybe every weekend we'd meet up at the skate park, film, and doing these skate montages, we would like usually do hip hop tracks or like rock tracks and stuff like that.
the usual.
Yeah,
case.
the typical either
Yeah.
like rock or hip hop. It was
Yeah.
like no in between there.
Yeah.
So I started watching the music videos for the tracks we would be using, and I got really into that. And I was like, okay, skateboarding's fun, but this is definitely more of like a hobby. Like I don't really see me going anywhere with this besides just having fun with friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like 16 or 17 at the time. And so that made me want to pursue music videos because I saw kind of more longevity with that than with skateboarding. Skateboarding was just kind of fun. Whereas music videos, I saw that as a potential career. So doing that, I started reaching out to local hip hop artists in Dallas because I lived in the Grapevine, Colleyville area.
Yeah.
So it was funny because like Post Malone, I went to high school with, and so all those people around the time were kind of like giving themselves a name. So I started working with a bunch of artists in Dallas, Fort Worth, and just started kind of building a name for myself. Fast forward like 3 years, I decided to move out of Dallas just because I felt like there was kind of something holding me back, as if like there was a glass ceiling that was close to being hit, or just just the music scene was very small at the time.
Just really curious about what age did you like figure that out, and what age did you just check?
Like at 18 when I graduated high school, I just didn't really see myself staying in Dallas. I just wanted to go to a bigger city, so I went to school in Chicago, Columbia College, and then maybe like a year after that, I dropped out of that school to do music videos full time. Because what happened was I had like 3 years of kind of like a music video portfolio that I took with me to Chicago. So I was kind of able to pitch myself to different brands and artists as soon as I moved there. I know like the third day I lived in Chicago, like I shot a music video. Like I was on it as soon as I got there. And so in my mind, the thing I wanted to do was just to make the best music videos in Chicago and grow a brand there.
That's how you do it, man. I love that work ethic. And did you at all think about like, man, I need to go to film school, or like, what was your mentality with film school? Because I know that's a question a lot of people have.
Yeah, so the reason I went to Chicago was to go to film school. I wanted to go straight to LA. My parents were like, absolutely not. There's no way that's happening. I'm glad they said that, because I would have probably failed if I went there when I was 19. So I went there for film school. I didn't even want to go to school, but my parents said, if they wanted me to pursue film in like this artistic outlet, I had to go to school. And I was like, okay. So we kind of met in the middle with that. But they knew like when I was going to school, like school wasn't the priority. It was going to be booking shoots and networking, and they were fine with that as long as I was going to graduate and have a degree. Because at the time, I think they thought having a degree would help me get a bunch of work when I graduated, which you could definitely argue that's somewhat true. But in my mind, it was like the portfolio was going to get the work and not necessarily the degree.
Yeah.
So fast forward like a year in Chicago, I was talking with my parents, and I was like, listen, like this is great going to school, but I don't feel like I'm learning anything. I'm doing a lot of work outside of class, and I'm booking a lot of shoots. And so I just think it's best for me to leave and turn this into a full-time thing, because I'm having to turn down jobs just because I have class. And they understood, so I left Columbia and then lived in Chicago for about a year and a half. And during that time, I was just kind of progressing, doing more networking. Now that it was a full-time job, I was able to support myself. And around that time, like a year after I dropped out, I started working with an artist named Sir the Baptist. And his manager, Jeremy, was also an A&R at Atlantic Records. And so my kind of big goal was to, keep progressing and work with bigger artists, because I still wanted to create this music video mecca and be like the best cinematographer in music videos. So I met with him. He really liked what I was doing. He really liked the way I was, grinding, and like all of my focus on was just creating and making videos. So he was like, well, I have all these connections at Atlantic Records. What if I were to manage you, handle all of the business side of what you're doing, and you just focus on the creative? And I'll take, 20% of what you make, but that's saving you time. You don't have to focus on making those connections. You just have to focus on the work I'm bringing in and creating that. Absolutely. And he was in LA at the time also, because that was kind of a thing in the back of my head that I wanted to eventually get out to California, just so you can get to the larger scale of things. So about 6 months after I signed with him, I moved to LA in 2016. It was February 12th of 2016 I moved to LA. And I'm still in LA right now, but that was kind of like the shortened version of how everything happened. So I've gone from Dallas to Chicago to LA, where I reside right now.
That's awesome. How have things been going since you've been there now? Now almost 2 years?
Yeah, it was 2 years this past February.
Awesome.
Everything's going great. My big thing was just as soon as I get to LA was do the same thing I did in Chicago, just network. Even though I had this manager kind of backing me and looking out for me, I still wanted to kind of go on my own and make my own connections as well.
Yeah, that's super important. I feel, with that said, I mean, that's admirable. And this is something I specifically wanted to like connect with you and talk to you about, because I have tons of friends who they'll stay local, and I work with a lot of them, and then a lot of them, they just kind of fall off of their passion for filmmaking or whatever it was that they wanted to do. They just kind of fall off, and then others move, Same thing happens with them. Some of them, they'll kill it, they'll keep doing their work. That's dope. But even some people moving, they still don't, so I think the, you know, the common driving force that keeps people working and progressing is just that, I guess, that work ethic and that passion and that understanding that, like, things aren't going to happen by themselves. I got to be the one to do it. Like, just like you said, like,
Right.
yeah, I got someone who backed me and was like, I'm helping you out, but you were like, it's not, that doesn't mean, oh, now I can relax.
Yeah, you can't put all your eggs in one basket, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I admire that so much. What advice would you give to maybe a film student, or I don't even want to say film student, but maybe just someone with a fresh passion or idea of wanting to pursue filmmaking, whether it's being a cinematographer, director, whatever, full time? What kind of advice would you give them about, maybe even moving or going to film school or?
Yeah, I mean, at the bottom of all that, I would say just keep pushing out content, especially if you're fresh to everything. Be releasing stuff at least every month, if you can, every week or every 2 weeks. Like, always be creating. You don't have to be releasing it, but just always be making something to kind of hone in on your craft and just networking. I think a lot of people overlook networking and they just focus on creating. But if you don't have any sort of network or anyone to give that work to or an audience to show that to, I mean, you're kind of just showing it to yourself. You have to make those connections for them to see your work and want to bring you onto sets or whoever that is that you're networking with. So I make sure I network with different directors, different producers, other production companies, and that's kind of how I get my name in those circles, because you can't really just rely on yourself staying behind your computer and like dropping stuff on YouTube and hoping that someone sees it.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have that network of people to send that work to, and kind of let people know who you are and whatnot. It's just, this market is so saturated now that you have to stand out. You can't just hope that someone's going to come across your work, because in actuality they're probably not, just because there's so much content being made right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I think that's what discourages some people sometimes too. They're like, oh, it's oversaturated, and we're like, yeah, obviously, but it's like, it's you have to. So a lot of the things I do come from skateboarding. I think that's where I learned a lot of my core values of, like, how to get noticed, how to progress and get better and just be a good person and, like, whatever. So for me, it was like, there's no such thing as the best skateboarder, but you can have a specific kind of style or do something that no one else is doing, or everything that someone's doing that's like commonplace. Like, I think to a general audience, they'll understand what a kickflip is. It's like, okay, but there's certain skateboarders who can do a kickflip a certain way that no one else does it.
Yeah.
And that's why they stand out, and that's why they may go pro aside from this other person, or why people may call them their favorite skater, or why they may get endorsed and sponsored more than this guy.
Right.
Just because everyone can do a kickflip, but the way this person does it and the way this person brands and markets themselves is why they are who they are. Same thing in filmmaking, same thing all across the board in a bunch of different fields. Honestly, it's like that's not an excuse, just that it's oversaturated. It's like there's more to it than that. Everyone has a personality that's going to show too. You can't be like the world's biggest asshole and then, like, expect to get ahead. It just, I mean, I don't know, maybe there are some special circumstances where that does happen, but for the most part, it's like not true. Yeah.
What's helped me at least grow a brand and just grow myself as a creative is just being a good person. I think a lot of people think you got to be, like you're saying, if you're the best filmmaker or if you're the best whatever, then that's going to make you at the top, and it's really not. It's a combination of a bunch of different things, at least I feel like. Like you're saying, no one wants to work with like a jackass or anything like that. Like, you want to work with people who have good hearts, good intentions, and at the end of the day are making great work. Like, those are the ideal people we don't work with. And I know a bunch of people who I choose not to work with just because they have negative attitudes or they just operate like in a really bad way. And it's all about vibes on set and working with someone who's going to empower you to want to create. So, I mean, if you're on set with someone who's just negative all the time, or if you're working with someone who's negative, it just makes you not feel creative and not want to work. And so it's really kind of like underplayed how great it is to be a positive person and kind of be the good one in the environment, because people are going to want to feed off that and be with you more and more, so they're going to want to bring you back to whatever they're working on because you relayed a great message on set, however that was.
Yeah, for sure. The way I explain it to people a lot of times, I'm like, man, if you want to make great work, like individually, people can do amazing things, honestly, and it shows more now than ever. But if you want to make really good work with a team, especially filmmaking, making any kind of film with a narrative or something really concise that not only looks cool and you want to watch, but looks cool, you want to watch, maybe has a message and someone, and I think this is the key thing, something that someone wants to replay, they want to watch over and over again. Like when I think about stuff I really like, it's not just like, oh, I like that, like swipe. It's like, no, I legit want to know more about that. Who made that? Why? Even think of like a movie or your favorite movie. Why do you keep watching it? Because there's something more to it than just like, I guess the fancy like, look, this looks cool or not. I think sometimes we get infatuated with that kind of stuff. Whether it's like equipment or just really just whatever's really trendy at the moment. But it's none of that stuff is bad necessarily. But when it's only that and it doesn't have any more layers, I think it'll go unnoticed. With that said, I also was really curious to know. I'm gonna ask you the most generic question that I get asked all the time, just because I want to do that to you as like just a fellow cinematographer. Like, what's your favorite thing to shoot, or what's your most favorite project that you've done thus far? That's generic as hell, I know it, but maybe you have something.
I would say, and this is gonna sound really stupid, but literally the project I flew to Texas to shoot, this film Skin Tight with Sierra, that's probably now like the favorite project that I've shot, and then we just wrapped that like 3 days ago. But definitely that project for sure.
What else can you tell us about that? It's a short film, definitely, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a short film. It's going to be adapted into a feature next fall. I really can't say anything on it, which I know messes up that answer.
Yeah, no, that's totally cool. And just to touch on briefly, Sierra is kind of how I got connected to you, just online, just on a social space.
That's what I assumed.
But I don't even know her personally.
Yeah?
Literally what happened
She's right down the hall right now, too, which is really funny.
Literally what happened was I was part of the first, so here at UNT, the University of North Texas in Denton, we started a short film club.
Yeah.
Wesley Kirk was the founder. Me and 4 other people were part of the officers, the first committee to actually start making films and doing stuff outside of the classroom. Mm-hmm. So long story short, I graduated, and here and there, because I still stayed in Denton, I would go to some of these screenings and be like, oh, what are these new students that I don't know anything about making? And so, I don't want to say surprisingly, but I guess it's great that every semester films kept getting better and better. And I think that's what I wanted to see happen too. I think that's what me and all the officers wanted to see happen. Like, oh look, we left this space where we created something, and there's still really enthusiastic and passionate filmmakers making work. That's awesome to me. And I saw one film in particular that Sierra DP'd. What's the name of that film? So these are short films, and they always do or back then it was 4 that we would do a semester, but since then they've been doing a ton more, which is awesome. What was it called? I'm blanking on it. So, we just took a quick pause to Google that shit, but Trailblazing is the film I saw at that UNT Short Film Club screening. I don't know what year. It could have been a year and a half ago.
Had to be a year and a half. I mean, had to be no more than a year and a half ago.
Okay, cool. Well, I saw that, and I didn't know much about the film or what was going on, but then I watched it and I was like, yo, that was sick.
Yeah.
And specifically, I was like, yo, I really liked how that was shot. I mean, coming from me as a DP myself, I was like, yo, that was tight. And I love watching, obviously, students that are going through the same school that I went through. And in general, I just younger talent, or not even younger talent, but just fresh talent. I'm I always supporting those people, because I'm I remember at a point, I was I would have loved for so-and-so to be reaching out to me, mm-hmm. type of deal. And so just because I genuinely like to support people. But I didn't know her, but I was oh, who DP'd that? And I waited for the credits, because I like waiting for the credits, and it was Sierra, and I was oh, okay, cool. And I think they may have went on stage, I don't remember. So I saw her and I was cool. Now I know or what she looks like, who she is. And I think that day, um, I had to like leave before the end of the screening or something, so I didn't actually go up there to talk to her. And then maybe like a semester or two maybe passed by, and then she showed up on my radar again. I think on like Twitter, and so I think I saw her reel, and I was like, oh shit, that was dope. And then I go, oh, Sierra, I think I remember who that is. And then I watched the reel, and then I ended up on like her, either I think her Vimeo or somewhere where I found Trailblazing again. I was like, oh shit, she was that DP, tight. And I literally was just like, all right, let me just follow all her shit and message her and was like, yo, keep doing cool shit. End of story. Like, end of story. You know, I don't expect nothing from her, anything, but I was like, keep doing dope shit. And then that shit just happened like a month ago, right? What did she win? She won like a.
Yeah, so it was funny because I met her in LA. She came for the screening. So Wrinkle in Time, the new movie by Disney, they had a contest, was like looking for the next visionary film director.
Yeah.
And so you had to submit just like a talking head piece about why you think you're the next visionary director. And she won, which is crazy.
She's fucking
And so
dope.
she went to the premiere in LA. That was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
2 or
that
3
shit
weeks
blew
ago.
me the fuck away. I was like, I'm gonna share all your shit. Like, yo,
Yeah.
we don't have like, dude. I was like, yo, that's sick.
She told me when she won, and I couldn't say anything about it because she couldn't release it yet. So I had to like keep it under wraps for a little
That's
bit.
sick,
But it was
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But that was before we started our film, so it was awesome because we had like the last pre-production meeting in Hollywood. So that was really cool that she could come to
Sick.
LA and we could link up. So yeah.
That's sick. Well, yeah. So I mean, all that sidetracking business just to be like, yo, that's how I kind of heard of her, and I was like, oh yeah, she's still doing dope shit. Oh, more
Yeah.
dope shit. And then like started following people that were like working with her, and I was like, oh, I already know a lot of these kids. Cool. And then I saw you on there, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, she said something about like, oh, my DP's flying in from LA, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's tight. Like, that's
Yeah.
super cool. But I was like, what does she mean flying in from LA? And then that's how I found your account probably. And I was just like, oh, this dude's cool, tight. And I couldn't tell you who told me specifically, but I was hanging out with like another filmmaking homie, and we were shooting something, and then they brought you up as a like, oh yeah, Parker's out doing something. And dude,
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you whose name, where that came up from. And I was like, oh yeah, I think I follow that dude. He's like, yeah, he used to live like out here, and then he moved out there, and then he's shooting. What came up specifically was like Lyrical Lemonade or something. He's like, I
Yeah,
think
my
they
buddy Cole. Yeah.
yeah, he's like, I think he shot something for Cole Bennett, and I was like, yo, that's sick as fuck. Like, you know, I don't know all the, because I don't know you personally, so I was like, I don't know this shit, but it's cool to finally connect and know that. But before we even try to dive into any of that, like, let's pull it back. We were talking about that's how I came to know of you and know of Sierra, but more about the film. So that you're saying that was like the funnest or best thing you filmed thus far?
I guess it's just been the most rewarding. Kind of, we had like our first, I call it like a practice run, the film we did last year, Dirty Money. That was kind of like my first attempt of doing a short film. So that was me and hers both like real short film.
I saw that. That was sick, by the way. I shared that. That was dope.
Thank you. I mean, I think it came out good. Just stuff like, I mean, that was almost a year ago, so a lot of things I probably would have changed about it from my end, just from the cinematography. But that was like the first time I was in like that narrative space coming from music videos. So that was almost just like a practice run. And
okay.
so coming back to Skin Tight was like this is like a real, like, I'm very proud of everything we've done with Skin Tight. So just coming from that, it's just been really rewarding, and just having like an amazing crew and cast was also great as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely saw Dirty Money, and again, I shared that, and I was like, yo, this is dope. I think what I like most about that movie is, well, I guess that's more, yeah, definitely narrative. I mean, it looked awesome, but definitely I love when someone can communicate a narrative and put together a story that is not necessarily something you'd see typically in a short film or in a story in general. Like, this was about three women essentially like robbing dudes, like, you know,
They did rob
some
them, yeah.
gangsters, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, like, who writes that, right? And that's dope, you know, that's dope. Like, you know, if anything, that was like my favorite as far as themes go. But I thought it looked awesome, so I don't know why you're giving yourself like, it could have been better. I think that's what we do, though.
Yeah.
I think that's just what we do as filmmakers.
Learn from it.
We look back and we're like, oh yeah, people like it, but I didn't think it was my best work, or I didn't think it was this or that.
Yeah.
But no, dude, I thought it was awesome.
Thank you.
And I especially love to, you guys, the music that we're incorporating, I think fit very well. and didn't try. Yeah, I used like TK, right?
A couple of TK songs.
And some
That
other
was all
Dallas
Sierra. I don't
artists.
know. I had no
Oh,
say in
okay,
that,
cool.
but yeah, I mean,
And
when
some
that.
other Dallas artists.
Yeah, I
too,
think it was
right?
all Dallas artists that were in
Yeah,
that. I think
so-
Pat Ron, who was in the video as well, he
Pat-
played a drug dealer.
Yeah,
I think his
Pat
music was
Ron.
in that as
Yeah,
well. So
that's
it was
dope.
cool. It's awesome how she's bringing like all Dallas people together for a Dallas project, and then the music on top of that is Dallas producers and Dallas artists. So it's all like a Dallas collective from like start to finish.
Yeah.
So it's really awesome.
And I think I think your duo is really good. Like I think it's important because obviously just from the surface level of knowing of Sierra, not knowing her personally or really at all, aside from what I see online, and haven't seen her films, is that she has certain themes that she sticks with, definitely minorities, definitely women, and I'm like, that's awesome. And putting, herself in a director's position and being like, yo, let me bring on a cinematographer I trust. Because I, as a cinematographer who also directs, I know it's difficult for me to do that. So for her to do that and be like, all right, I have this story and it has very real themes and pretty much it's like a social commentary. That's what I see her social commentary films, which I love. She's doing that, and so to put that in the hands of like a DP you trust, I think is like a super important thing to have a good relationship with.
Big time.
Because if you don't, then it's like that could easily lose a lot of what she intended. So I mean, I think you guys, you definitely keep doing what you're doing, and I'm excited to see Skin Tight. And I know part of that contest she had won granted her a budget, right, for a film.
Yeah, she gets $100,000 for the feature.
Cool. What do you think you got the most out of this short film, Skin Tight, after shooting? When was it? Just the past couple of days? Is that
Yeah,
what
we shot it. We wrapped on Sunday. Today is Tuesday,
Yeah.
so we're just 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we shot Tuesday to Sunday, or Wednesday to Sunday.
What's the most you think you got out of it? Because so your background is specifically music videos,
And so is hers as well. So it's really cool because we're both stepping into this narrative space like around the exact same time.
Yeah. Okay, awesome.
So
because I know that's definitely, and I don't know if you took a peek at any of my work, but I really like narratives. Like I love music videos with narratives.
I love
in
your
them.
photography, and
Thanks.
I saw a couple of not music videos, some commercials that you've done as well.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, everything looked great on your end.
Thanks, but so I'm a big fan of Kendrick Lamar's videos right now, and
Yeah.
who's not, but like.
Yeah, Dave Myers and all that.
Yeah, Dave Myers, yeah. And then, was it the Lil Homies? Is
Yeah.
that what they say? Yeah, that's dope as shit. But, yeah, so what's the most you think you got out of having learned from Dirty Money, as you said, like, oh, here's what I would have changed. What do you think you did differently with Skin Tight?
It's just a whole different process, and I think the reason why I'm, happy with Skin Tight is because I approached Dirty Money like a music video, like when it comes to lighting.
Yeah.
So, and those are like two different spaces.
But, dude.
Music videos, like, it's a lot of backlight, it's a lot of neon colors, it's all this.
But I thought that shit was sick.
Yeah, no, I'm
So
stoked
hold
on, no.
up. So let me let you finish.
I'm stoked on it.
I'm
Definitely stoked on Dirty Money. But again, like you said, I'm really tough. I think every creative who cares about their work is hard on themselves.
Yeah.
You found like a good collaborator when they always hate on their own work or dislike it.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of hard to trust someone who thinks like all their
They're
work's
the
the
shit,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like that's
you're
scary.
too confident, dude. Back off, like,
that's scary
yeah,
people.
yeah,
You don't need to work with anyone like that. If you find someone who talks that kind of smack.
Yeah.
But then I approached this one like a narrative film. So we talked and that was our very first film. So we're just starting to get to know each other more.
Yeah.
And see how each other works. Versus with Skin Tight, like we went a lot deeper with the script. Talked about how we're going to light it, how we're going to shoot it. We had a bunch of reference videos and films, and so there was a lot more in-depth conversation that went on about the image versus with Dirty Money was like a lot more kind of not free range, but it just wasn't so nailed down like Skin Tight was.
Maybe more like, oh, this looks cool, it looks good, let's shoot it.
Yeah.
This was more
she was like, I want like a Spring Breakers. Like, okay, cool. So like this, okay, dope. And then like we went from there. Versus Skin Tight was like, okay, for this scene, I want to have like this look. Okay, cool. So we're gonna need a bunch of neg fill in like this. Okay, word. And then like we went from there, and that was like dissecting each scene. So it was a lot more, I guess, honed in than Dirty Money was.
Yeah. See, because I'm I'm opposite, so I come more from short films, which I haven't done a short film in a long time now.
Yeah.
I've been mainly doing music videos and a bunch of corporate commercial type of work, but I approach everything like it's a narrative, and people see that sometimes, and clients I work with or the people I work with are like, nah, dude, it's too like, you're like, they want like higher key lighting,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to go for negative fill and this and that.
Yeah.
Or I'm in a music video setting where the artist or whoever I'm working with or my collaborators on the project
Yeah.
are like, fuck it, let's just fuck with the lighting and add some color in there, and
Just two different worlds.
and let's change it up and be really bright and just mess with it. And I pull back from that. I'm like, no, let's just keep it simple and have this tungsten light here, and just posing daylight on here, and we'll have some color contrast, but it's not like a red and a green or orange or like all these different colors or whatever, or orange is tungsten, but like something like that really stands out. And I don't know why. I've been telling myself experiment more with that, but so I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, I'm gonna make it look like a film. I don't know why, but I'm trying to push myself outside of that. That's why I said, like, in Dirty Money, I was like, dude, that's sick that you said I approached it more like a music video. To me, I'm like, I think that's what I saw in it. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
And there's a lot of different sequences too, like the very last sequence in the garage, or like the scene where they're breaking into the drug dealer's house. Like, she took it in a way where it almost felt like a music video, because we did a bunch of slow-mo, which is like never in the narrative world that you do slow-mo. So it was a bunch of that. So it was really interesting how all that happened.
Yeah, that's cool though. Like,
but Dirty Money was just way more relaxed. I mean, we talked about the last scene like the day before to Starbucks. Okay, so things were really a lot more chill. As with Skin Tight, like, we were honed in and like we knew exactly what we were doing like 2 weeks before we shot it.
Sweet. That's why I love narratives, and I think that's why I overstress myself sometimes with music videos, because I'm like, let's just make cool shit, or that's what we talk about. But then like a week before I'm shooting, well, by that time I already have a treatment done, but I'm like, man, I'm gonna make sure this and this is on point.
Yeah.
And then I show that to the artist, whoever my client is, and they're just like, let's just go and make it look cool. And I'm just like, man, I wanted this story, or I wanted this concept to really hit and work. And it's not that it doesn't, but I get caught up with like, oh, there has to be a narrative, or there has to be something more. But at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I need to put myself in a space where I can just experiment more with lighting and color, and just having a free flow of ideas, because I think that is healthy in music videos specifically. Yeah. Like, it's super healthy. Like, you're shooting a cool looking image, you can't go wrong. But I put myself in the space where, like, no, it has to have something else. It has to have another layer, which it doesn't always have to. But yeah, man, that's cool to know. What would you say is the most difficult part about trying to transition, or not completely transition, but doing more short film narrative stuff than music videos?
Just the learning process. There's a big learning curve, just because everything I've done in the past, probably 95% of my work from like 2014 to 2017 was all music videos. So I mean, even though it's both in the film world, I mean, it's just two different shooting styles, lighting's different, like everything we just talked about. So it's just been like the learning part. It hasn't been difficult, but it's just been, like relearning stuff that you don't really put in to music videos. It's just a whole different space and so many different applications. Yeah. So it's just been the learning, I guess, has been the difficult part, but not really difficult. It's been super fun learning it. Yeah. So that's
cool.
This is the learning, I guess.
Yeah. What would you say has been the coolest experience? I know it's really vague too. It's almost asking like what I asked earlier. But like, as far as like working with this director or working with this specific artist, or like I've always wanted to meet this artist, or I heard a song and he was popping or whatever, like has that happened where you meet someone and you're like, I'm glad to be shooting this music video right now. Like, I'm like, this is sick. Like, I can't believe I'm here.
On the higher budget end, not really, just because a lot of artists on that, like a lot of artists that are signed to a label, like have to do a certain type of video. Like, typically labels are scared to go out of the box, and so they want to keep doing generic stuff. So, I mean, I've done stuff with like Sean Kingston, Rich the Kid, those type of artists. and those have been cool, but they're very like generic videos, so that's why I never promote them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been like with the indie artists that I've worked with that don't have a name, but so they are cool with thinking outside the box and doing stuff like that. That I kind of sit back and I'm like, okay, I'm really glad to be a part of this project just because it's doing something fresh and new.
Yeah. Sweet. Do you think
But there's been no sort of experience so far where it's like this one project. It's like a culmination of everything that I'm doing. It's kind of like it's all sort of like a super big blessing
yeah,
just to be a part of it.
is there a lot of you doing both shooting and directing, or are you mainly shooting right now?
For the bulk of like when I first started, and I think everyone goes through that, you play like every single role.
Mhm.
So you're producer,
Yeah.
you're director, you're shooter, you're editor. But ever since I worked with like a crew for the first time like a year and a half ago, it's like I can't look back. It's like after you do that for the first time and you have your own director, you have a
Yeah.
producer, it's like, dude,
So
I can't do this
freeing.
anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't. You know, I'll still take on jobs that I'm doing that role, but it'll be very simple projects.
Mhm.
Like I just did a music video for this artist KR who's in LA, and we shot in the woods for like 4 hours, but it was fun because like we hazed up the woods, we like
That's
hung all these
sick.
quasars everywhere.
Yeah.
So like, yes, I was technically director and the DP on that, but I mean it wasn't like this $30,000 music video,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So it's just us having fun in the woods. So projects like that, like I'm fine with taking on that role. But stuff that has a lot of moving parts, for instance, I'm doing a music video in Chicago next week, and it has a lot of different moving elements, and I'm the director and the DP. So it's like that's kind of not stressful, but it's just a lot on your shoulders to kind of
Yeah.
make everything come to fruition. So stuff like that. But for the majority of everything, what I'm doing is like I'm usually just coming on as a DP, and there's already an editor, there's already a director, and I'm just coming on for that one day, and then after that, I'm like done with the project and on to the next. And that's what I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, I'm in between right now. Definitely, I would say most of my music videos are that, though. I'm acting more as a videographer rather than cinematographer, director type of deal. So I got all the hats on.
Yeah.
And I'll have help from other people, but it'll be a more of a on-day type of deal. Like I'll do all the pre-production, I'll get everything together, then I'll have someone assistant directing,
Yeah.
assistant camera, and maybe a few other things helping gaff or grip. But I'm doing that a lot of the times. But all the other work I do a lot of times will involve a crew, and so I'm split in the middle right now, which is fun. It's still, to me, you can get stressful to do everything by yourself, but it's still learning experience. And then like today I was with the crew, and that was awesome. It wasn't a music video, it was more of a corporate gig, but I'm like, man, this is cool. I'm second camera and there's other people here, and I'm gonna do my job, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it really well. And so, and I can do that because I don't have to focus on all these other things, you know.
It's more freeing.
Yeah. So, man, it's just there's just so much freedom, and I'm just like so humbled by that. Anytime I'm on a legit set, I'm just like, man, this is good. Like, you know, it's not
Right.
like when I very like first started and I had zero help, you know. It's like, man, like this is good. This is how it's supposed to be.
Right.
You know. So, like I said earlier, I don't know, with some friend, I don't know why. Have you worked with Cole Bennett at all with Lyrical Lemonade? Because that brand, dude, is like super cool to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's a wave of the fucking now and a wave of the fucking future.
So Cole's a really good friend. I mean, we go back like to 2013. I knew Cole when I lived in Dallas, and so when he lived in the suburbs of Chicago, that's when we first met. When he first started Lyrical Lemonade, like if you go back to like the beginning of Lyrical Lemonade, like 2014, like one of the first videos that was on his blog was something that I did in Dallas. And then in 2014, he put me down as like the top 3 like videographers to look out for. Like I'm on that list. So like we've been at it for a while. So I've done videos with him that we've done for like Smoke Perp,
Dude, I love all the fucking shit.
Ski Mask, all those people. And it sucks because he had a shoot with Gucci Mane in Hawaii this week, and I couldn't make it because I had to come for this film. So I missed out on that. But yeah, it's been really cool seeing him grow his brand and to the size and scale that it's at. Because I remember when me and him were just at college, because I'm pretty sure he's definitely dropped out. So when I was at Columbia and he was at DePaul, both of those schools are in downtown Chicago. So I would help him do his ciphers, and like 15 to 20 people that came out to the first one, and they kept growing after that. but it's been really cool to see like the past 5 years of like seeing a friend grow like that. It's be like definitely an honor to call him like a close friend for sure.
Yeah, that's sick because I just feel humbled as fuck when I see his work because it literally reminds me of just doing the most with what you have,
Yeah.
you know? But
he just
now,
shoots on an A7S, and this everything comes together like in the editing, so it's really cool.
Yeah, and even now I'm like, okay, he's gonna have bigger shit, which is sick, but he's still keeping it mellow and low
Right.
key, and people love that shit, you know?
Right.
Because this is why I talk about like also going out and doing your own stuff, because film school and this and that, you can study it and they'll teach you one way, but break the fucking rules and just do shit that you like to do, stand out. And I think his work and what he's doing at Lyrical Lemonade is the perfect representation of that. It's like, would big time Hollywood have considered this shit, you know, art or like worthy at one point? Maybe not. And even still, it's still breaking those barriers. It's in music videos, but in my head, I'm like, it's only in music videos right now. But I feel like he's really gonna kill the commercial world, like, and who knows, maybe do some short films, because his style in particular.
We did a short film a year and a half ago, Lone Springs.
Oh, did y'all?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I hadn't checked that out.
Oh yeah.
Damn. Well, I'm saying sooner or later, I don't know why, I'm just like, man, I'm gonna like, I mean, I don't watch TV, but I'm gonna turn on the TV or maybe see some giant ad that's like viral as fuck on YouTube or staff picked on Vimeo that's like with the big ass brand, and it's all gonna involve like you're gonna see the style and be like, yo, that was fucking Cole Bennett type of shit, you know? Because I just watched film Isle of Dogs by Wes Anderson, and we all know Wes Anderson is a big time film director. You see something he does and you know it's him automatically.
Yeah.
That's how I see Cole Bennett of 2018 right now. Like, holy shit. Like, I see a video and I'm like, that's him. And if I see a video that's similar to his, I can immediately tell, okay, I don't think that's him. But you can see how he influenced an entire generation, an entire culture, you know?
Yeah.
Which is sick to me. And I just love knowing things like that are possible, because it's like, okay, I look at you and I look at someone like Sierra and just other people I know, regardless of where they're at in their careers or what they're doing, but I see just a spark of potential or something they made, and I'm just like, fuck, like, this is dope. Like, you know, I only see good shit in like the future for everyone, you know? So that's cool. It's cool to know. Is there anything else that you'd want to talk about as far as, you know, just pursuing it? Like, I think you're moving out to Chicago and LA is really big, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, some people are really scared to do it. And I definitely stayed pretty humble and just stayed where I'm at. I get a lot of good, decent work. You know, I'm pretty sustainable. But, I mean, dude, I'm still young as fuck. How old are you? I'm
22.
Okay, I'm 23. Damn, see, you're even younger than I am. So, I do pretty well for myself. But I always say that I'm like, I'm in fucking Dallas, Fort Worth. So I'm like, what would happen if I did move somewhere? And again, dude, we're young as fuck. You could move elsewhere in the next year. Yeah. You know? Like, we both could. But that just amazes me, because it's like, in this day and age, you can really do good shit anywhere. But the option's always there. Like, pack your bags and just go explore some new shit.
Yeah, what's cool about being in Dallas, there's a production company I follow called Maker Table. It's Ryan Polly and a couple other guys.
Yeah, those dudes are up here, yeah.
Yeah, so they're in Denton, and it's cool because they're doing stuff for like Budweiser and stuff like that. Like, they're doing these massive campaign ads that typically like an LA or New York production company would be getting. But the
Shout
fact
out Maker
that,
Table, they're killing it.
Yeah, they're awesome. So the fact that you have those people who are in Denton, Texas, like picking up those kind of ads is cool, because you're in a smaller pond. And I think that's kind of the pro of being like in a city like this. You're not in the LA, the New Yorks, the Chicagos. So there isn't like a massive competition, and everyone kind of knows each other, I'm sure. So that's what's nice about that.
That's what I found here, dude. I'm like the odd cinematographer out, because there's so many videographers, you know?
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like, I do a lot of videography work, but they never learn how to just market or brand themselves and just network and be a cinematographer. Right. So I say I'm the odd man out by, like, they still hire like a lot of the older cinematographers out in Dallas, but I'll end up on a set and I'll be the youngest dude there DPing, and no one can really tell, but until like I say something or they just come to find out sometimes. They're like, dude, like, how are you DPing? Like, shouldn't you be doing this or that? And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I guess traditionally we would have had to climb the ladder that way, and a lot of people still do. But I'm like, I just did a lot of work, got good, and continually like am progressing. And if I'm on a shoot and they want me to work this camera, I'm like, yeah, it shouldn't be hard. I'll study it, I'll learn about it, and then I'll go do the shoot. And I know, if you have enough experience and you're really confident, I don't think there's stopping anyone. So that's my thing too. In locally, that's what's been happening to me. I'm like, it's a smaller pond, right? And I can become a bigger fish. When you go to LA, it's like the fucking ocean, and you're a small fish, right? But you can grow, and there's just so much more places to swim to.
Yeah, the
and
volume
network.
and scale of the work's a lot larger.
Yeah, but so here I'm like, all right, I'm chill, I'm good, but I know there's so much more out there. But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna see what else I can do here. And at the moment, I'm like, nah, fuck it, I got a jet, then I'll jet. But for now, talking to people like you, talking to homies who already like moved and they're doing well, and just networking and being able to visit them, I'm like, sick. Like, then I know it's possible. And I know and people here know that it's possible to do good shit here too.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the work ethic and networking and being a good person.
Right.
But
And you can always fly out to those places too and work and then fly back here, so it's not unobtainable either. You don't have to move out there to get that work. You can always fly in there and then fly back. So that's the cool thing.
Yeah. What would you say was the most difficult part of making that transition? Let's say LA, from Chicago to LA. Let's put it that way, instead of from here to Chicago, because that was school based, but also some other stuff. But Chicago to LA, I feel like am I wrong? Was that the bigger jump, or?
I think if I would have gone from Dallas to LA, it would have been a very massive and uncomfortable jump. But going to a bigger city like Chicago, and then going to LA, they're pretty similar in size. So it was going from really Dallas to the large city of Chicago. That was more daunting than going from Chicago to LA. One, because I just graduated high school and I've never been to Chicago before. Mm-hmm. It's a way bigger city. So that, and I don't know anyone there. Mm-hmm. So that kind of made it not freaky, but it's a little daunting and just kind of unsure what's going to happen. Versus with LA, I'm moving out there with connections. I have a manager who's already out there, or an agent. And so that, it's a little more cozy to slide in there because things are already kind of in motion. Versus with Chicago, it's like things haven't even started yet until I get off the plane.
Yeah. You transitioned in Chicago to taking it serious, quote unquote,
I think I was taking it pretty serious here, but it was like Chicago was. I mean, again, I was only 18, so I knew at 16 I wanted to do this for a full-time job. So it was, things kind of matured at 18 or 19.
Okay, then damn, you got that bug early.
Yeah,
That's sick. That's dope.
I mean, yeah, it was set when I was a sophomore in high school that I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So
that's crazy. I mean, I loved doing this shit when I was 16. I probably started when I was 13.
Yeah.
But holy shit, that's cool. That's cool that just manifested early on.
Right. So there wasn't there wasn't any sort of bridge that I came to and I didn't know how to get over it or any obstacles. It was just a casual, just growing. And then it was kind of over time, you look years back and okay, cool, that was a massive jump that happened in that 3-year period. So there wasn't any sort of massive leaps that I had to take. It was all small steps that equated out to a large movement over time.
That's cool. Sweet, man. Well, any last words? What would you say to, the aspiring filmmaker right now?
Well, we'll get to that. I want to ask you this.
Shit. All right. Fine, let's go.
I dropped out of college, so I was curious. I almost said high school. I dropped out of college. I'm curious what kept you in film school, or I guess in college to study film, and what did you ever have any thoughts of dropping out, and so what kept you in that? Because when people ask me, should I go to film school or should I not? I think there is no right or wrong answer to that. It's wherever you're at in your filmmaking career, who your connections are, what you want to do, and kind of where you're at location-wise. So for me, my reason was I was bringing in a volume of work that allowed me to drop out, and so it made more sense to do that. Were you, what kind of kept you in school, and were you ever kind of faced with that conversation inside your head that you wanted to possibly drop out of college?
Not necessarily, because I think for me, my situation was a little different than what you would call your average film school student or college student.
Mm.
Uh, well, first of all, dude, at 16, you were like, yo, this is what I want to do. I knew it's what I like to do, but I didn't know. I didn't know I mean, I knew it's something I was going to keep doing,
Yeah.
but I didn't know it was going to be a career. I didn't know that was an option. So, school for me, college in general, not just film school, but college in general, for me, like I said, is different for me because I come from immigrant parents, so I was like, oh shit, I didn't know I was going to college. It's just like, I knew I was getting good grades in school and I was trying to stay out of trouble. And then I got accepted and we were broke as fuck. But I got all these scholarships and I worked hard for them. So now I'm in school. And I originally came for like a sociology, or I went to school for sociology. I was like, I'm gonna do some social work type of shit. And then I was like, and early, like quick, like just a weekend, I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm gonna do filmmaking. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. So I, slowly started coming to the realization that this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. So mine was maybe early on in college, like freshman year, like a weekend, like, oh shit, like this is what I want to do. So I'm like, okay, I'm in film school. Let's do it. But then I was in film school, and I was meeting other people that liked the same thing, and it was more short film based narratives. And I was like, cool. And I was doing school, but I wasn't necessarily working yet. I got like my first like wedding gig and my first like little commercial deal or whatever for really cheap. And so that was like freshman year, and then that's when I was like, oh, I can make money already.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And so sophomore year was a real hustle for me, where I was like, yeah, let me stay in school and get good grades and go work and go shoot things on the weekend and skip sometimes to go do this or that. And so I was really hustling, and then I also knew that I was like, oh shit, no one's gonna hire me as a director or a cinematographer just because I have a film degree. So that's where maybe your question really comes in, because so going to college and this and that, circumstances were different. I felt really privileged to just be in school. So I was like, fuck, I need to finish. Like for fucking just being a Chicano, being a Mexican American, being a brown dude with immigrant parents. So that's a whole nother deal. But just the thought of like, why should I finish film school? I was just like, man, I'm already fucking here.
Yeah.
And I feel you when you talked about earlier. Like I really felt you when you were like when you had a conversation with your parents. Like, why should I? Like I'm getting work. Like school is in the way of me doing what the fuck I want to do.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way entirely, but I did feel like, man, if I had all that. So, dude, I stuck with school, but in the back of my head, I was like, once I fucking graduate, holy shit, I'm gonna go hard. And I did. The year after I graduated, I only graduated in December of 2015. So 2016 was my fucking year of just. I mean, I'm nobody, dude, but it was my year of like I had work, like not all the time, but the first 3 months I hustled, I networked, I had a little bit of work, but after that I had a good flow of like work here and there. People started knowing me more outside of my network here at school. Other production companies, videographers, whoever were hitting me up, and all this other stuff just accumulated. And now I'm doing pretty well. Like I always have something to shoot. I always have stuff to edit. And now I'm at the point where I'm trying to delegate more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be like, okay, I don't want to just be a videographer. I want to be cinematographer for sure. I want to direct more. I want to work on my own passion projects.
Right.
So when I get a client, let me delegate some shit. Let me really come off as a professional production company. Let me like get away from producing less of my own shit and get someone else involved. I'm not there completely yet, but I'm delegating more. But the film school journey, not to get ahead of myself, but the film school journey, I was just like, man, for me, dude, it was a privilege to be there. But I know the average film student, whoever, probably just come from immigrant parents, probably, I mean, not to say everyone goes to college or has the idea, because that's obviously not true. But it felt like a privilege to me more than anything. That's why I did it. And that's why I finished. And I did feel like I had to be in film school. I know everyone doesn't have that feeling. So when someone asks, should I go to film school or not, I'm always like, I don't really know what to tell you. I felt like I kind of did. I think I still would have been okay without it. But I felt like I did, So I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. So were you the first one in your family to go to college?
I wasn't, actually. So it's surprising when I tell people that I didn't know if I was going to go to college. Because I did have 2 older brothers. 3 older siblings and 1 younger. So the oldest didn't go, but the 2 after him did go. but it was more of I had no interest in other studying anything specifically. I was a B student most of my life,
Yeah.
so I could get by. But my senior year, I was like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me try harder, and let me really apply and like write these essays. And
Yeah.
dude, where I really got scholarships from were like I made videos. Dude, I approached it like the thing said, turn in an essay. I said, all right, here's a whatever kind of essay, but here's me recording myself and making this funny YouTube type of short film. And they said, we really like that. Here's the scholarship. And I was like, what the fuck? Is this cheating? Because like I was like breaking the boundaries of like what the criteria was.
Right.
But I was doing all kinds of stuff to be like, fuck it, let me try to go to school. And so it worked out. But I say that like I didn't know if I was gonna go because I didn't know what I wanted to study. So you like, yeah, that's super cool that you knew at 16 or whatever that you wanted to do that. I say that again, just because I didn't know. I was clueless. I was like, man, I have a brother who's like, oh, I'm gonna do art and really generic, and then became a teacher, whatever. And then a brother who's like, I'm doing electrical engineering. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing electrical engineering. So it was just having a blank, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. And not a lot of people. So those two older brothers did go, but no one else in my family was really going. There was a couple of cousins who did, a select few, and I have a huge family. Most of them didn't. As far as like aunts and uncles and stuff and their kids, my cousins, like none of them really went. And then my neighborhood alone, like no, dude, you could barely count them. I count them on my fingers the amount of people who like go on to study higher education or much less think about, oh, I'm gonna go to film school, right?
Right.
So it was a privilege for me more than anything, dude. But that's why I love hearing other people's stories as filmmakers, as whatever. Like, how did you get to where you were? Because at the end of the day, we all have our circumstances. You know, no one's life is perfect, but there's always like the underlying themes are the same for how people get to where they get. Again, the work ethic, being good people, like, you know, having confidence in their work or having someone who saw something in them and helping them. You know, so at the end of the day, it's all, we kind of have the similar journey. But to me, that's what it was. So that's when people ask me about film school, I'm like, dude, there's layers to it. I don't know. Maybe if my situation was different, I would have been like, fuck that. I'm going to just hustle and do my work.
Right.
And fuck school. But I was like, fuck it. I could be like, yo, I'm a filmmaker, cinematographer, this, and that. And yo, I got a bachelor's of arts and fucking, you know, production, whatever. So that to me is tight, just to be able to say.
Right.
But at the end of the day, no one gives a fuck. It's cool to say, but it's the work that shows. It's, you know, again, everything else that shows. You don't have to have a film degree. You've shown that.
Right.
And a ton of people have shown that. And I'm like, okay, more times than not, I'm on a set, and people probably dabbled and went to film school for a little bit, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's really split down the middle. I have a bunch of friends who are doing awesome in LA and in New York, and they went to film school and graduated. So that's why I said there's no right or wrong answer. There's people who've dropped out that can't get any work, and there's people that graduate that can't get any work. It's, you know, it's leveled on both sides. So like you're saying, it's all situational and kind of like what you feel internally and like your gut feeling is, because there is no wrong answer.
Yeah, totally, man. Cool. Yeah, thanks for flipping that on me, dude.
Yeah.
That's cool. No,
I was curious about that.
No, that's great. That's great, dude. Yeah, you got any last words? Maybe any something I like to do a lot, especially with somebody like you, who I can really see, like, without even knowing you on a personal level. I'm like, damn, this dude's done something that a lot of people are afraid to do. So what advice would you give your younger self? Like, what advice would you have gave, I don't know, you at 16 about filmmaking?
I mean,
you seem pretty confident though. So what
I was the same at 16. I was just a lot more rebellious and angsty.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, advice just for what?
You telling your 16-year-old self, like, yo, check this out. I'm your future self. Here's what you need to know, or here's what you need to keep doing.
See, I don't know. I never had a backup plan or anything like that. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I was going to chase it at 16. So there was never any sort of doubt, and I never went through any sort of like stage where I was like, you know, I don't know if this is going to work out, because I always persevered and made sure I was going over that obstacle. So I would just tell my 16-year-old self just to keep going, because that's what I was doing. So there was no shadow of a doubt that I was going to do what I was going to do. So the best advice I can give anyone is just don't think of a plan B. Because as soon as you think of plan B, you're fucked. Because you no longer are going to hone in and have 100% on that plan A because you've already thought about the fail safe way. So keep a plan A and just keep going after that, and that's like the best thing you can do.
All right, and that's a wrap. Thank you, man.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, that was dope. Fuck yeah, man.